Thanks. All right. Happy Friday. Happy Black Friday. And welcome to what's going to be an abbreviated version of the Business Strategies Roundtable today. Hopefully, everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving yesterday, enjoyed some wonderful time with family, and maybe a little bit of power of play themselves. Unfortunately, Mr. Reza, the founder of Power of Play, was unable to join us today, which makes some sense. Hopefully he's doing some fun things with family and the power of play himself and recovery from all the wonderful work that he does, bringing the power of play to communities that need it. So what Reza's organization does is fantastic. And what we're going to do today is an abbreviated version of the conversation where I go through 5 important points related to the power of play and a little bit about what Reza's organization does and why it does it. So Reza, in his interview, or the first half of what would have been today, would have highlighted the background that he had in a war-torn country and highlighting some of the really silver lining moments that he had getting to experience play and then the impact that it had on his life. That led him then in his adult life to bring that to similar communities and children, bringing the power of play to folks. So what I want to talk about today is 5 important points related to the power of play and how you can bring that power of play into your communities, into your own life, and if you're a business owner, into your business, because it can be really important to manage that balance of that work-life balance. You have to remember that it's a marathon and not a sprint. And when you're building a team or an organization, it's important to have those moments of reprieve that allow for what the power of play brings. So the first thing that I'd like to dive into in relationship to the power of play is something that's close to my heart from the restaurant industry. And one thing that was really interesting in my time in the restaurant industry was we really focused on training. And there was a 5-step process to lead to successful training that took an individual through the 3 ways that somebody might learn, so that regardless of the way that you were training the individual, regardless of the way the individual that you were training learned, they would pick up the information because you hit all 3 in the 5-step process. The first step of the process really highlighted the power of play. And that first step was create an environment that was comfortable. And what was really important about that is sometimes people aren't in a position, either interpersonally, emotionally, because of the day that they're having, or because of the life that they've had, or because they're nervous in a new work environment, or they're nervous around whatever. They may not be in a position to learn. So that first step, and this was something that I was taught from a tremendous set of leaders in a tremendous organization, was that you have to create an environment where things are going to be fun, or fun as possible, right? Not every day is going to be fun the whole time, but where fun can exist, because that allows for everything else to be possible, the learning. And if you have an environment where fun is there, you can have the other side of things as well, where then you do the last step where you do coaching. So you go through training, but the last step, and if anybody's a business owner that has trained people before, you're always working on upskilling the team around you, because typically they don't execute, especially at the start, exactly to your vision. So that last step, coaching, is delivering feedback and there being a positive, fun environment where you can be trusted and be trusting, if you're an employee or employer, is really important, because then it allows for the negative to possibly be there. Hey, this was really good, but we need to do this if we want to improve, or this, it was a little bit too much cheese, or this marketing text was X, Y, and Z, and all of those things create the long-term success of an organization. And it starts with comfort, and that's related to being able to play, being able to laugh, being able to be comfortable, and being able to have fun. So that is one element of the power of play. Another that's extremely important is creating healthy and lasting relationships. Now, whether it's an environment like what Reza impacts with his organization, or if it's an environment where you're tackling vulnerabilities or cybersecurity incidents, or even the rush in a restaurant, if you are in a situation where you feel friendly about the people around you, where you understand how they might act in a certain situation, how they might feel about certain things, that gives you the comfort of understanding, well, I know how to handle these upcoming situations. And when you're in stress, like a restaurant rush, that can be really helpful to know the people around you in a way that you can trust and rely on them to do certain things. That's especially important in a business environment. It's especially important in a community, and it's especially important in your interpersonal life, because if you don't have people that you can rely on in your interpersonal life, that becomes a tough place to be. So play can lead to getting to know people in a more deep way, because you get to see how they respond to different situations, whether it be their grace in losing, or the way they challenge somebody that's a strong opponent, or whether it be whatever other number of character features you can glean from that type of situation. So the power of play can be fantastic in identifying people that are good friends and community members, and building those lasting relationships through play. Similarly to that is the next point, which is, through play you can really learn a lot about the boundaries of what's appropriate and fair. I've played basketball in a lot of different places. It's something that I do to maintain cardio, because I can chase a ball, but I really struggle to run on a treadmill. And I'm not the tallest person in the world, but I'm stout and highly competitive. And I've been in different environments where people were far more aggressive than maybe was necessary, or were far not aggressive enough. And when you play in those different boundaries of the lines, and you see people react different ways, a hard foul, and 90% of the room is reacting like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Or, not making enough effort, and 90% of the room is like, oh, we should have seen a little bit more body there. And all of those different things help an individual learn how they should play a certain role, or who they are, or what society or friends or the company expects out of them in terms of culture and character. And when you create space where play is possible, you're able to educate all of the members of the company or the community at one time on, hey, this is the way that we want to approach situations. In an IT space, you might do, a tabletop game where one group is against another. In a restaurant situation, you might have stores compete against each other or do timed races. All of those different competitive nature or play-based things can be really good for defining culture and establishing how we want the team or the community to move forward on whole. So that's really important. Number 4, shaping what you know and just general experience. So we grow up in a home with parents that teach us from their perspective, but when we go out into the world, sometimes that information isn't completely sufficient. Similarly, if we do an organization with one perspective on operations or one perspective on how to handle different situations, or one perspective on how to engage with each other, you may not have as much as you could have or would want to have in terms of knowledge or experience to be able to have the success that you could have. So what play allows for is the intermingling of a bunch of different people and ideas with different positions and experience to get together and to share and to allow for people to learn from the way that other people do things. So, for instance, if we use the example, I'm going to use both examples that I just mentioned in the previous point related to how you can bring competition to show boundaries or fairness or what culture is desired. In the restaurant industry, if you're talking about doing a timed pizza test, seeing who can make the pizza the fastest, you may see what another individual does and be able to take that knowledge into your own pizza making, into your own day-to-day life, and now you're that much faster. In an IT world, if you see the other team solves a puzzle this way and you realize, oh man, in my old organization, we did it only this way, and I didn't even realize that this was a method or a strategy that could be done. You then get to take that forward. Similarly, when you get a bunch of people together playing and combining all their ideas to strategize against another team, you may create new ideas or new strategies that have never been used before because of bringing all of those ideas together. So that's another wonderful thing that play can create. And then the last thing before I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving weekend and say go Steelers and go Turkeys. The 5th one is play can create a tremendously positive outlook. And if you're somebody in a community like what Reza is from that is, full of war and famine and really just tragedy, having those moments of play and reprieve to laugh and to be creative and to experience the bright side, it creates, I believe, possibilities in the future for people that if they don't have those experiences aren't possible. So having that in your schools, in your communities, in your workplaces, communities, I might have said twice, homes, is an extremely important thing. And it quite literally, for a number of different reasons that we've just gone through today, can totally change the outlook on an individual and a company or a community. So with that, I hope everybody does a bunch of playing this weekend and as much as you can for the rest of the year. And next week, we are having one of my awesome friends on. John Robertson's going to be joining us to break down what hallucinations are. And I'm going to make an argument for why we should stop calling AI hallucinations. So it's going to be another AI conversation focused on machine learning and and AI hallucinations. So thank you so much today for watching the abbreviated Thanksgiving episode. Enjoy the power of play in your weekend. Looking forward to next week, and everybody have a fantastic time. Thanks so much. Bye.